All right, let's jump right into today's explainer. The yawn that shook an empire. We are heading all the way back to the golden era of the majestic Vijayanagara Empire. Now, you'd probably think that in a kingdom filled with unbelievable wealth and brilliant minds, people wouldn't sweat the small stuff. But as we're going to see, human nature, and especially royal pride, never really changes. So let's unpack this absolutely wild story of royal drama and honestly some pretty genius problem solving.
So here is a question for you. Can a simple, totally involuntary yawn almost bring down an entire royal empire? I mean, it sounds completely ridiculous, right? But believe it or not, this one little sleepy gesture literally sparked a massive, silent war between King Krishnadeva Raya and his wife. It's this brilliantly funny example of just how fast a tiny miscommunication can totally spiral out of control.
Okay, picture this. Meet Queen Thirumalambal. It's super late at night and she is just exhausted. I mean, completely drained after a long day of royal duties. Now, her husband, the king, who, fun fact, was also a really passionate poet, was super enthusiastically reading her his brand new, highly abstract verses. And the poor queen, who was probably just barely keeping her eyes open at this point, couldn't quite follow along. And then it happened. She yawned. Not just once, mind you, but several times.
A yawn. Look, we all do it. It's literally just a natural breathing reflex, right? Well, the king completely misunderstood this totally harmless action. Blinded by his own pride, he actually thought the queen was purposely mocking his masterpiece. He was furious. He stormed right out of there and flat out refused to speak a single word to her. And just like that, for weeks, this once cheerful, vibrant palace was plunged into this incredibly tense, forlorn silence. Talk about an overreaction. So the queen is understandably distraught. She's apologizing left and right, but it's all falling on completely deaf ears. Enter Tenali Rama. Now, Rama was one of the most celebrated poets in the king's court, but he was really famous for his razor-sharp wit and his knack for solving, well, seemingly impossible problems. For the isolated queen, he was basically her absolute last hope to fix this. She calls him in and explains this whole agonizing situation. She pleads with him, saying, "Help me please, Rama. Only you can help the king understand." Rama, being the clever guy he is, listens very carefully. Because, you can't exactly just walk up to a powerful king and say, "Hey, you're acting like a fool." He needed a strategy, a really, really sophisticated one. Fast forward to the very next day, the grand royal court is just bustling with activity. You've got ministers fiercely debating things like agricultural policies and paddy cultivation. And there's the king, sitting up there on his ornate throne, presiding over the whole thing. But if you look closely, his eyes still hold all that tension from his massive fight with the queen. Now, amidst all this really loud debate, Tenali Rama is just standing quietly at the very edge of the room. He's observing everyone, and he's got this highly amused, kind of mischievous smile on his face. Finally, the king spots him and asks for his input. The entire court goes dead silent. All eyes turn to Rama. Just imagine him parting the crowd, walking up to the king's throne super slowly and confidently, carrying a simple plate full of seeds. He bows real low and makes this bold announcement. "Your Majesty, I have a new type of paddy seed." And guys, Rama's proposal is just completely absurd. He stands there and claims that while regular seeds obviously need soil, water, and manure, his quote-unquote magic seeds are going to yield 3 times the harvest completely on their own. While the court absolutely loses it. They erupt into snickers, the ministers are mockingly asking if he brought these magic seeds back from the moon, and even the king calls the whole idea completely illogical. But Rama, he is totally unfazed by all the mockery. And right here is where he springs his brilliant psychological trap. He calmly looks right at the angry king and says, "Actually, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the seeds themselves, but there is a catch, a very specific process for planting them. Step 1, you take the seed. But step 2, the person sowing the seed must never, ever have yawned in their entire life." He tells them if someone who has yawned even once tries to plant them, the seeds just won't grow, period. Then Rama just casually throws this simple question to the room. Is there anyone in this world who never yawns? You could literally hear a pin drop. The court goes dead silent. The king's eyebrows furrow in this deep, deep thought. And Rama just gently reminds him that yawning, well, it's as natural as breathing. And boom, suddenly it hits the king like a ton of bricks. His wife's yawning wasn't some calculated insult at all. It was literally just a tired human taking a breath. So the king is just immediately overwhelmed with regret. He finally realizes his foolish pride. That very evening, he goes to the queen and humbly apologizes.
And just like that, the dark cloud lifts. Joy and laughter instantly return to the palace corridors. And of course, naturally, Tenali Rama, the absolute brilliant architect of this whole reconciliation, is heavily, heavily rewarded.
It really is an incredible story about the dangers of pride, but also the sheer power of wit. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where a totally trivial misunderstanding just ballooned into a massive problem? How did you step back and resolve it? Because as we've seen today, sometimes all it really takes is just a little touch of creative thinking to bridge the gap. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next explainer.